Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the vlog. I probably look like a mess, like my hair, and I haven't shaved. And that's because I did 2 night shifts like back to back, 7 p.m. No, it was 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. and they were really long. And then after yesterday's night shift, I then had to stay awake and build 3 streaming servers. So I was awake for like 30 hours straight, and I slept from like 4 p.m. to 11 a.m. today. And I'm still recovering, as you can gather. So anyways, what I do need to do today is the timing service on my R33.4. You know, timing belt, water pump, tensioners, all of that jazz. And I have to get it done today because I'm drifting this weekend with Okachan. So no excuses, it has to be done. And the weather report says it's gonna start raining in the next few hours. So time is of the essence and I need to get it done as soon as possible. So we're gonna do that. Another thing that's supposed to be happening today is I just bought a Nismo 2-way diff off a guy in Yahoo Auctions. He lives around the corner from me, but he doesn't finish work till like midnight. So he said that I can't get it or pick it up until like 1 a.m. at a dodgy convenience store. And that sounds super sketch and dodgy. So we'll see how that goes. If it happens, I'll film it. Anyways, I gotta do, my timing service and everything like that. And I don't have time for chit chat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and take you guys all through it as much as I can, but as quickly as possible. And let's get started on that. In case any of you guys are interested from that previous vlog where you saw me plant all these seeds in this garden bed, as you can see, everything is now growing and it looks awesome. But let's get onto that timing belt. So I want to take you guys through a lot of the tools and the things you're going to need for this. First things first is jack stands and a jack. You need to jack up the front of the car. Next, you're going to need like torque wrench. You're going to need Loctite, a timing light. That's a fuel filter, which I'm replacing at the same time. That's not needed if you're doing a timing service. You need a pull kit, which is for taking off the harmonic balancer. You're going to need your various sockets and spanners and everything for your toolkit there. Brake cleaner, degreaser, and you're probably going to need some stuff like ultra grey gasket sealant. That's still on its way and should be arriving in like the next hour. So anyways, this is pretty much everything you're going to need, and let's get started. Okay, so once the car is all jacked up, the next thing you want to do is you want to start taking away everything here that's preventing you from getting into here and down to the harmonic balancer. That means radiator, clutch fan, fan shroud, and you also want to take off your like factory oil spill tray thing that you may have still here. That's definitely a must. So I'm going to go through and take all of that off now. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the radio and everything out now, which is great. I have so much more space here now. The next thing I'm going to do is we need to take off these 3 belts. So power steering, air conditioning, and alternator, all in that order. So I'll start with the power steering, loosen the tensioner, get that belt off. Once again, tensioner, loosen that off for the air con, and then loosen the tensioner for the alternator. All very simple, and I'll do that now. Alright, so now we've got all these belts off, it's time to start taking all of this off. But before we can take the cover off to the timing belt, we need to get the cam angle sensor off. Now, it is super important that you mark its position so that when you put it all back together, it's in the same position. Because if you move this, this will change your timing as well, based on what the computer can sense and everything that it's at. So, I've already marked this here from previously when I was checking the timing belt to see if it needed doing. And you can see here this little red mark. That is my wife's nail polish. She donated to the car a bottle of red nail polish for me to do marks and stuff like this. I do recommend things like nail polish is really good because it's hard for it to get knocked off. You can use whiteout, you can use like a chalk texture or pencil or something like that. As long as it doesn't get easily rubbed off, it's a really good idea to use something like that. So I'm going to remove this now, and then I'm going to remove the cover, and then we'll pretty much tackle the harmonic balancer after I get this cover off, and then I'll get the rest of it off. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of this off, the next step is you want to turn the harmonic balancer. So you make sure the car's in neutral for this. You turn the harmonic balancer with a 27 millimeter socket on there, and you turn it so it's lined up with this first line down here, which is 0 degrees. And then you want to make sure that everything's lined up here with this dot here and this dot here, this dot here, and this dot there. And then that means like you're at top dead center, and your camshafts and everything, they're all in alignment. Now, the next thing you want to do is then put the car into 5th gear, and then you want to start undoing this. The issue that I have right now is that unfortunately the weather is really bad. It's about to start pouring down with a really big storm. And then at the same time, I realized that my puller kit doesn't have the right size bolts for going into the harmonic balancer. So what that means is I'm kind of at a stalemate right now. I need to try and get some bolts that will go into the harmonic balancer. So I'm going to see if I have some more at home, like somewhere in maybe one of my boxes or bags of parts and stuff. But if I don't have it, I'm going to have to somehow get to a hardware store without having a car to get the right bolts. And obviously with the weather, I don't know if I'm going to get this done today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack up everything first because it's about to start raining. I'm going to put everything inside, and what I'm then going to do is probably close the bonnet and then just try and see if I can find these bolts, go to a walk to a couple stores and see what I can do. But I don't think I'm going to get this done today, which then means I won't be able to pick up the diff. So this is really actually going to cause me a lot of trouble, and I'm panicking a little bit. But we'll keep going forward and we'll try to get this done as soon as we can. So I'm currently walking on my way to the closest hardware store. It's about 13 minutes away, and I wanted to show you guys this really nice clean R35 GTR. Can't wait to one day own one of those. Anyways, gonna get out of this car park. All right, so here we are. Unity right there is a big hardware store, and McDonald's is right here. So I might have to get a cheeseburger after I go to Unity. Or maybe I'll get a cheeseburger first. Actually, that sounds like a better idea. All right, so I ate my cheeseburger, and in the time I was eating, it rained a lot. I don't know if I've said this yet, but the weather actually report has been upgraded and said that a typhoon's coming tonight. So that's a little bit crazy. Anyways, let's go in and see what we can find. And here's some M6s. I think those will probably do me well. Alright guys, so I'm now obviously back from the hardware store. It's about 7 PM at night, and luckily my neighbors are all away on summer break, so that means I can keep working. I'm just checking these bolts that I got here from the hardware store that they fit in the harmonic balancer, and I can confirm that that is the right thread and everything, so that's great. I bought a light there as well so that we could keep working. So what I'm going to do now is get all my tools and pull that harmonic balancer off. I already have everything, as well as top dead center and the cams all in position, so I'm also going to get my wife's handy nail polish again and mark there and there so I don't lose the position as well. Okay guys, so unfortunately we're at another stalemate.
As you can see, there's oil leaking from my front main seal behind the main timing collar down there on the crank collar, or the crank cog, whatever you want to call it. So that means I'm going to have to get a different type of puller, a claw type puller, to pull that off and then replace the main seal in behind it. Another thing is, you can probably see down here there's a bit of gunk and stuff that's been moved, and that was because this Centipede was just chilling in there. He's obviously dead and somehow gotten in there and just died. So that was a kind of cool find to find in there. So maybe if you're doing this at home, be a little bit careful for what might be lurking in behind your timing cover down there. Anyway, so what I've done is I've sprayed in this keyway hole here on the main cog there to with CRC to let it soak in overnight, and I'm going to try and get a claw puller and front main seal delivered tomorrow afternoon, and I'll finish the job then. Kind of sucks. I got that little bit far forward and then another thing that's holding me back. But this is, you know, this is cars, this is what it's all about. So yeah, I figured I'll just leave it all as it is now, and I'll do all that tomorrow. Then I'll do my tensioners and water pump at the same time.
Alright guys, so we've jumped ahead 2 days now, and these last 2 days have been so stressful for me, and that is because I've been trying to scrounge together all of these parts and everything I need to get this job done, and my car's sitting out there in pieces. I can't do work on it without these parts, and it's been driving me insane. Plus I need to pick up a diff. Anyways, so what's been happening the last few days? Well, I finally got my front main seal yesterday. Actually, like literally yesterday I got this, but I couldn't install it because I was waiting on my pulls to get here for taking that gear off, that bottom gear off the crankshaft. And I've got two different types of pulls. This one's a little bit special, specifically designed for bearings and pulling like gears off cranks, and that's because not only does the claw kind of go around it and clamp onto the back like this one does here, but it also has another bolt that goes across horizontally that then clamps the clamp like this. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it does it from the sides as well, clamping force on the sides to hold it in place so it doesn't slip off and damage anything. So anyways, I got those two things for getting that off. And I needed that to get it off so I could put the seal on. Plus I needed a few other things that I figured I'd got at the same time. New power steering belt because the current one's a bit frayed. A big tub of Vaseline. You'll see what I'll do with this later. It's an old mechanics trick for, you know, putting seals in and stuff. And then one of these little extendable magnetic pen things for picking up bolts that have fallen in behind the air compressor bracket on the engine. So that's going to suck. One thing you can probably see in the background there is there's a bride seat all wrapped up with some seat rails and other parts. That's all going to Australia. That seat and seat rail is actually going to Kira, who just got her freshly painted her freshly painted S13 back from the painters, which looks amazing. It's midnight purple, like R33 GTR midnight purple, and it is like, so good. Anyways, there's also some other parts in that pile that are getting shipped back for the 180SX drift car that we're building for Oka-chan to drive at Drift Matsuri. If you guys want to see some updates on that, there's some pretty awesome updates on that. Engine's sitting in the bay now. So if you guys want to see all of that, just head to our Instagram account, which is just otaku_garage, and you'll see all the update pictures there and some other cool stuff that we've been developing and parts and stuff like that for our chassis and stuff. So go check that out. It's awesome. Anyways, enough time talking. Let's get out and finish this timing service.
Okay, so we're back out here now, and I guess there has to be one good thing about being a couple of days of not being able to touch this, and that is that every night I've come out and I've sprayed this with CRC to get it inside the keyway there and everything, so that when I pull this gear off, it's going to hopefully it's going to be nice and smooth with no issues. So we're going to get to that straight away, but the first thing I need to do is I need to take off the tensioners and then take this old belt off. And then what I might also do is take off the water pump at the same time. I do need to do that. Obviously, I'm changing water pumps as well. But anyways, we'll get onto this right away and I'll set you guys up on a time lapse. Okay, so I've gotten the belt off here, and like the condition really isn't too bad, but I mean, if I squeeze it, you can see all these little cracks starting to appear, and in some places you can actually see a few of the fabrics kind of fraying out from the belt. So it's definitely, like, it's not in good condition, like it's not the best condition, but it's not that bad in all honesty. Something I'd expect to see on a belt that's only done 60,000-70,000 kilometers, which is what this car's done. So all in all, it's pretty good condition, but definitely worth replacing. When you buy a secondhand car, It's better to be like safe than sorry. Just do your timing service, change your VRS like gaskets and do a VRS kit and stuff on it, because then you know the condition of the motor, you know where it's at, and you just, I guess, peace of mind, right? So it's just such a smart idea to do that. Anyways, I'm going to continue. One quick thing I did want to mention is always take note of which order, when you take off the adjustable tensioner, which order. There are 2 washers. There's a crush washer and then a normal washer. Make sure that you check which order they go in. It should always be, when you're putting this on the block, it should be the normal washer, then the thin crush washer, and then the nut. As well as be super careful when removing the spring. You don't want to damage it. You need this to go onto your new tensioner. So I'll put those together up there in a safe spot. Cool, so I'm going to get rid of these, and we're going to take off this bottom collar now. No way! Did you guys just see that? Holy crap! Never in my life have I ever had a crankshaft gear just slide off by hand like that. Holy crap! Oh my god. That is like next level crazy. Anyone who has an RB knows that this should not be this easy. Holy hell. Every single one of these I've removed off an RB, it has always been a really big fight. They've never slid off like that by hand. And like I said, anyone who owns an RB who's had to remove the timing crankshaft gear collar on the front, you know it's always a big ordeal. This is like, oh my gosh. I kind of feel silly now. I feel like I should have tried this the other night when I got my seal. And just tried pulling it off by hand. Because, yeah, like, I cannot believe that that's just come off by hand like that. They never do that. That is amazing. That's what they're supposed to do, but they never do. The best way to get these seals out is to use a pick. I don't have a pick, but I do have a pointy screwdriver. So I'm going to try and use that. Looks like it's already starting to come out, but it also looks like my screwdriver pick thing is also bending. Yeah, there we go, got it. And here is the reason why the front of my engine is covered in oil. It's crazy how all these little things like this can just... That little seal there has been leaking, and that's why. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean this whole area out with brake cleaner, and then we'll put the new seal in. Alright, so it's time for the new seal, and now it's time for the Vaseline. Okay, so what you want to do is get a nice big chunk of Vaso, put that out of the way, and you want to pack this guy with it. And yes, it's okay if it gets a bit messy. You just want to pack it all in there. Make sure you got heaps of it all packed up in there. And what this does, this helps to hold, there's a little spring in there, all the way like on the inside of the seal. And sometimes what happens is when you pop these in, that can pop out. And you want this, you pack this in there, and that keeps it in there while you're installing the seal. Also helps with lubrication, that's also a good thing. We're going to fit this in, slide it over the crank, see if we can push it in by hand. Oh, beautiful. That's in there good. Now what you want to do is get a little bit of a socket extension and just really lightly tap it in with the hammer. And just don't smash it all in on one side. You want to alternate from side to side and just make sure you evenly tap it in. And don't, like I said, lightly tap it. You don't want to damage your new seal. Okay, so here is the new Hitachi water pump that's going on, and this is how it's going to mount on like this. Now one thing to note is a lot of the pumps that came out from like other companies that manufacture them, like for instance the Hitachi water pump. Instead of there just being one hole, there is a little bit of a line there, and that's to cater for all the other RB series. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're putting this on, that with the paper gasket and stuff, that there is still some RTV or ultra grey here, or kind of gasket goo there. So what you're going to see me do is I'm going to do a very thin layer of ultra grey all the way around this, then stick the paper gasket down, and then another small thin layer of ultra grey around this, or I might just do it on the actual block itself. Okay, so as you guys can see, water pump's now got a light cover of ultra grey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit the paper gasket on top of this, try and not screw it up. Come on, get in the right position. There we go. All good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another layer of really thin ultra grey around the paper side of the gasket. Alright, so as you can see, the water pump's now all good to go on. It is now time for the fun part. Okay, so now it's time for the new Tomei timing belt. Now there should be some marks on here, which there is. So you see these marks? You want to line these marks up, the two closest marks like here and here, with the marks on your cams. So I'll move this up a bit, hopefully you can see this. So see this mark here lines up perfectly with that mark, and then this one over here lines up perfectly with that mark. And then from there, feed it around that tensioner, down here. Oh my god, I got it. Oh, that was a bitch. But I think I have it. Let's check and make sure everything's all lined up. Lined up here? Yes. Lined up here? Yes. Lined up down here. Yep, I can see in this picture it's all lined up perfectly. Okay, so now comes the time where we need to tension the belt. Now right now you can see it's very loose, and I can bend it all the way like this, nearly over on itself. And what they say is that you want to tension it down by pulling this Allen key down on the tensioner, which moves the tensioner over. And you want to do it in such a way so it's tight enough where the belt can't fold over on itself. It's still got a little bit of twist in it, but it can't fold over on itself. So I find that that's a good position right there. I'm going to tighten the tensioner there. And hopefully that's perfect. Yeah. So you can see there that there's still a bit of twist in it, but I can't twist it over on itself. Okay, so right now the next thing I want to do is I want to turn this over, and I want to see if I can hear for instance, like the valves hitting the pistons, because this is a good test, right? You can, right now, you can turn it over by hand and you won't damage the pistons if the valve hits the piston. If you go to crank it, you'll damage the piston and the valve. So this is what you need to do to test it. The best way to do that is to throw your crank bolt back in without the harmonic balancer, obviously, because if you need to take it all off because it's hitting, you don't want to take the harmonic balancer off again. So you do it all the way up, and then you just want to turn it over clockwise. Okay, so from here, I can definitely not hear any valves hitting or anything like that, which is great. It means that everything's been done correctly. And now what I can do is I can go and put the harmonic balancer on and start reassembling everything.
So it is now the nerve-wracking part where I have to start the engine, flush the coolant, and make sure everything's all good. Hopefully I don't hear any weird noises and the car starts up right away. Awesome. We had a little bit of a lifter tick at the start, but that was just why oil got up into the head. Otherwise, everything appears to be running well. Alright, so the timing service is now completely done. I'm super happy with myself and proud of myself for doing it all by myself. It was actually my first time doing it entirely by myself, so I'm really happy about it. But yeah, otherwise I'm going to go have a shower and clean up, spend maybe an hour with the wifey, and then I'm going to go out and pick up this diff. Alright guys, so we are now heading to pick up this diff. It is like 12:39 and we're meeting this guy at like 12:45-ish. Anyways, so I have noticed that since driving the car there is a bit of a whine coming from the timing belt, so I am going to probably pull it all off and loosen that tensioner a little bit, just because it can get a little bit loud sometimes on deacceleration. So I think it's a good idea that I do adjust that. So I'm not too fussed about it. I mean, I do need to take like some belts off and the clutch fan and stuff like that, and the covers to get to the tensioner to loosen it off, but it's fine. Like, I don't mind doing that as long as the main job's done, right? And otherwise, we're picking up this diff at a super sketchy, shady time of night in Japan.
But at least he's been really cooperative.
Yeah, he has. He seems like a nice guy, and I mean, it was all done through Yahoo Auctions, so it's actually kind of legit. All right, anyways, I'm going to focus on driving because we're about to get on kind of like a main road. Car feels good. Okay, so I'm here picking up the diff, and this is the guy I'm picking it up from. His name is Fumi, and he owns this awesome R34 over there. I'm not sure if you can see it in the dark, but he's actually a uni student here in Japan, and he is like fully into cars. He has an Altezza over there that's got the Beams 3 GTE in it, and yeah, I'm keen as because he's invited me to a drift event at the end of the month, and we're going to try and hang out and maybe do some other cool stuff. But yeah, the diff's all in the box there, all good to go. Unfortunately, he had to take it out of his 34 because he had to go get shuck in, and they failed him for it because his ABS was disconnected from it. So that's kind of a downfall here in Japan. They're super strict on young people and shuck in, and insurance prices going up and whatnot. But anyways, he's a really cool dude, and I wanted to introduce him to you guys. All right, guys, so we are now back home, and just today and the last few days have been absolutely amazing. Like, just the kindness of everyone, like helping me out, getting the parts that I needed to get this car ready for this weekend has just been awesome. Initially, I thought I was done, getting everything done so that drift prep and, you know, just getting ready for drifting was all finished like a week, 2 weeks ago. And then just all this other stuff that just piled up, and just all of a sudden it was like, okay, no, I need to do so much more than I first thought. So I'm just super grateful right now and humbled, I guess, by everything and everyone, how they've helped me. And then like tonight, like meeting this guy picking up this diff, it seemed shady and dodgy, but then the guy was the nicest dude I've ever met. He works 2 jobs, works like at a gas station, also works at like a izakaya, and then at the same time goes to uni and is studying mechanical engineering. Like, this guy is just, he's so into cars, building engines and mechanics and all that type of stuff. He does everything himself. He's amazing. And then like just he was talking to us and telling us about how his dream is that he wants to get young people back into like drifting and motorsport and cars, and like get them all hyped up about it like they were back in the early 90s and the late 80s in Japan. And he like really wants to see that happen again. He's 23 years old. This guy is like, man, super awesome. Anyways, you're probably going to see him a bit more on the channel. We bonded super well. Became friends, and like, yeah, he's already like messaging me and stuff like that, so I'm really pumped about hanging out with him in the future and maybe doing some videos about him. I'm thinking maybe doing like a kind of you know, like what I did with Koshikubi-san and stuff like that. Maybe I might do like more of a more professional grade video and like just interview him, hear his story and show his cars and that type of stuff. think that'll be awesome, actually. Someone young who's like passionate about that type of stuff would be kind of cool, especially here in Japan. I think that'll be good for you guys to see. Anyways, I am so wrecked. I can't even remember if I've said everything. May's wrecked. It's like 2:30. We spent 2 hours just talking to Fumi. It was amazing. Anyways, I got the diff now. I need to be awake at 6 a.m. for work, so I'm going to go straight to bed. But guys, thanks heaps for watching. I know this vlog was probably really long, and it had a lot of information and technical stuff in there. And especially like with the timing belt, kind of sucks that I'm going to have to take everything off again to loosen the belt a little bit to get rid of that noise. But that's okay. It's not going to be that bad, and I can do it so much faster now. So I'll probably do that tomorrow, and at the same time, I'll probably get everything I need to switch diffs tomorrow as well. I probably won't switch diffs tomorrow. I'll probably do that later on in the next few days. But if I'm lucky, if I can get the Nismo oil or the Tomei oil that I can put in it tomorrow, I'll probably do it tomorrow as well. We'll see. I might be pushing it. Anyways, guys, once again, thanks heaps for watching the video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe and all that jazz. Like, tell me in the comment section what you thought. If you loved the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, because liking the videos and stuff like that, if you guys are more active on the video, that really actually helps YouTube bump the video and recommend it to more people. So if you can do that, that'll be amazing. And anyways, guys, as always, jamatane. Just quickly, I realized that I've probably never actually explained to you what jamatane means. And what it means in Japanese, it's Japanese, and it just literally means bye, I'll see you next time. But like, it's kind of like a polite, casual way of just saying like, yeah, catch you next time, see ya. So that's what jamatane means.